A beloved rabbi is retiring and his successor is making Nevada history. Plus,
I felt that this community was really invested in the history, but they felt that there was a void in letting that history be known.
A massive project in size and meaning is now complete. Hear from the artists tasked with portraying the legacy of Las Vegas' historic Westside this week on Nevada Week.
Support for Nevada Week is provided by Senator William H. Hernstedt.
Welcome to Nevada Week. I'm Amber Renee Dixon. There were a record number of anti-Semitic incidents in the U.S. last year. That's according to the Anti-Defamation League, which says opposition to Israel's military response in Gaza after Hamas attacked Israel on October 7, 2023, is what's helping drive the increase. It's an issue we discussed with Rabbi Sanford Akselrad of Congregation Ner Tamid. After almost 40 years leading the largest Reform Jewish temple in Nevada, he is retiring. Taking his place will be Rabbi-Cantor Jessica Hutchings. She's Nevada's first female Rabbi-Cantor. We recently spoke with both rabbis in a two-part interview that we recorded 2 days before Israel's attack on Iran, which Israel said was necessary in order to prevent Iran from building an atomic weapon. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
For our non-Jewish viewers, what is the difference between a rabbi and Rabbi-Cantor? Who wants this
Even
one?
for our Jewish viewers. Okay, go ahead.
My whole sermon was about this last week. I'm an overachiever, really. That's all it is. I started as a cantor, or in Hebrew we call it a chazan, which is the musical visionary for a synagogue, for a community, to create a musical spiritual setting, and also to pastorally care for the community and prepare bar and bat mitzvah students. A lot of it is overarching to the rabbinic role, which is scholarly, is more text study, things like that. And at a certain point, I decided to add that as well.
Before we talk about how big of a deal it is for you to be the first female Rabbi-Cantor in Nevada, I want to ask you why you are retiring, Rabbi Akselrad.
Well, I love being a rabbi, I'll always be a rabbi, but I just felt it was time. As I approached my late 60s, I saw how the world was changing, the challenges that were there, and I was fortunate, and our congregation was fortunate in that I was able to mentor Rabbi Hutchings here, so I felt, I have a good person to step in my shoes. So everything just kind of came together in a beautiful way.
When you say the world was changing, what were you talking about?
There was a few things. One was COVID. A lot of clergy across the board, denominations, retired during COVID. Very difficult time. The technological changes, keeping a congregation together, all the question marks, the funerals that occurred, just everything hit us, and we absorbed a lot of that energy. And probably it may have been a time during COVID I would have said, I don't know if I'm up for this challenge. But we rose to it together, and then we got out of COVID, and then we had to refertilize and reblossom this congregation and make it grow again. And thankfully that happened. But during the time when we were in it, who knew? And then there was a couple other health challenges, and I have seen too many people who waited too long, and when they retired they didn't have time to enjoy life. And my wife, God bless her, we're married 42 years. There's a picture of me at home. She can look at it, but now she gets to see the real thing. So I think I owe that to her also, to be there for my spouse.
And it was during COVID when you realized that you wanted to pursue becoming a rabbi. Did I read that correctly?
Yeah, and interestingly, I was in a virtual conference for the cantorate, and I was sitting in a session, and it was one of those moments where you can't really explain it. You just know, like, there's something else, there's something deeper, there's something I am supposed to add to my life right now. And I called him, and I think we took one of those safe COVID outside walks or something, and and I said, like, I think this is maybe something I'm interested in doing, and he sounded very relieved to hear me say that.
Right, I think it was, thank God you realized that, right? Is that what you said? What did you say?
Something like that.
I don't remember what I said, but I probably reflected on it and thought that was a great opportunity for her and for the congregation. There's also a shortage of clergy. Not as many people are going into the rabbinate or the cantorate, and so I knew that when I did choose to retire, it might be difficult for our congregation to find that perfect match. So on a lot of levels, it just seemed to all click and make sense.
Is that something you had to run by other people?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, so what was the reaction to an incoming rabbi being a female?
Oh, that's never been an issue because I've had assistants who are female, and I had
Assistant rabbis.
Yeah, assistant rabbis who were female, and I had students. I used to mentor students from the seminary. They would come in and they were female. So gender, I don't think was an issue at the time.
Rabbi-Cantor Hutchings, was it an issue from your perspective?
Not so much in the reform movement. It was more of there is definitely more explaining to do when it comes to looking at the different denominations and how I can be accepted in the community. In the reform movement, we have a very progressive, open door to all kinds of diversity. That hasn't been such the issue. It's more of the community at large and being accepted and respected as he has been with this title.
You told me off camera you've noticed some things that perhaps Rabbi Akselrad has not as you've transitioned into this role. What would those be?
Simple things that you wouldn't think about when I, for example, will park in a clergy spot at a hospital and people will look at me like, she's not clergy, she doesn't look like clergy, she doesn't have a beard, and kind of that look. And so I actually had name tags made up. I've never worn one before, but I had name tags made up with my title so I can put it on when I go into a hospital so that nobody questions that I'm a rabbi. And there might be other settings where that I'll have to wear it just to show, like, yes, I am a 40-year-old woman and also a rabbi and a cantor, and so I am clergy in this situation. And you may not think that clergy looks like me, but they do, so yeah.
What was it that your son said when you told him you were going to study to become a rabbi?
He got very upset and he started crying and he said, I don't want you to have a beard. And I thought, I failed him. He thinks that all rabbis have beards. But then I realized his rabbi has a beard. The rabbis in the school that we were renting to had beards. And he saw mommy was a cantor and his rabbi has a beard and is a he.
But for the record, I've only had this beard 25 years. My wife happens to like a beard, so there you go.
Historically, though, a female rabbi is a big deal, right?
Oh yeah.
But you don't think it's a big deal.
Becoming a rabbi in and of itself is a big deal. But I think that she will be a trailblazer on many different levels besides gender.
Tell me why.
Because she is a person who is able to see things that should be, but aren't, and try to make them better. And I think also that she is a person who also is aware of her gender, but also at her heart is a person who just wants to be the best rabbi she can be. And, so it's not colored through that lens, it's colored through the lens of a tradition that's a couple thousand years old. And in that way, she'll reach out and help people regardless of gender, age,
sexuality.
And sexuality, absolutely.
And I attribute those qualities to Rabbi Akselrad being my childhood rabbi and teaching me that this is how you love people, this is how you do Judaism. And there's a quality in Reform Judaism that's held very high, which is tikkun olam, which means to repair or to heal the world. And this is very important to me. So when I see injustice, I want to make it right. I want people to know that they have a place here in the Jewish community.
When you bring that up, repairing and healing the world, it is a difficult time when you think of Israeli-Palestinian relations and how that applies to that situation. Let's go back to October 7th, 2023. What changed in your line of work for both of you. I'll start with you, Rabbi Akselrad.
That was another challenge, right? That says, oh my God, do I want to retire? Do I not? It's something that we have not seen in our lifetime in our career. Israel has fought so many different wars, but this was a war that has been considered existential. That Israel got caught in a very difficult situation. They lost a lot of people. It's a very small country, and they were also going through a political upheaval in terms of how they wanted the democracy of the country to go to. So add that layer, and going into war, the taking of the hostages, it just affected Israel incredibly. Who knew, though, that the response of the world, which initially, probably for maybe 1 or 2 days, was supportive of Israel, would then change immediately to be not only anti-Zionist, but to be anti-Semitic. And therefore, since that time, our congregation has had to spend a fortune on security. And it's not just our congregations throughout the country and probably throughout the world. That's, to me, intolerable and just a sad state of affairs, that as I retire, we now find the Jewish community under siege in that regard.
I was wondering whether it had anything to do with your decision to retire.
Not necessarily in that regard. Okay. There's a little bit of guilt that maybe I should stay on just to keep being that voice. My intent is really to go to Israel and volunteer there. So that will be a way that I continue that passage. That support of Israel. I've been to Israel probably 30 times. So I have a deep love for Israel. You can read about all the issues about the war and what's happening with the Palestinians, what's happening with Israel. And my heart for both people really goes out. The amount of destruction, the amount of death, it's heartbreaking. And I hope that there'll be a path to peace.
Rabbi-Cantor Hutchings, you told me off camera that this is an unprecedented time for you. What has the result been? What have you felt?
There's multiple angles here. There's the one side of things where we've seen people so proud to show up again, like maybe they've been unaffiliated from their community, but what happened made them want to have community again, to say, like, I felt vulnerable and lonely in that moment on October 7th, and I needed to show that I was a Jewish person and find my Jewish community. So that has been a blessing for a lot of people. I mean, one that I wish wouldn't have been the reason, but if we have to find something good out of it, we've seen that all over the country. But the amount of outward anti-Semitism that has come from it, and the realization that we are truly othered in ways that, as a younger person, I did not see, and perhaps I had rose-colored glasses on, but I never felt so othered, and also othered in a negative way, I guess, that because of who I am, being Jewish, than I have in these last 614 or 15 days. It's unbelievable that this is where we are, that this is how it is at this moment, that there is so much uncertainty and so much misinformation that is guiding this hatred. And it's heartbreaking. There's no other way to say it. And so all we can say is we're here for our community. And this is not a time to be shy about who you are. This is a time to find your community and to stand tall.
Where do you start when talking about misinformation? What's most important for people to know?
I think that Israel has been made out to be this really bad, like Israel bad, Zionism bad. And yes, as Rabbi Akselrad said,
And will you explain what Zionism is for our non-Jewish viewers?
Zionism has been made out to be something that is, what is happening in Gaza is a result of Zionism. That's not the case. Zionism is that there is a right for the Jewish people to have homeland and to have the state of Israel as the Jewish state. It's supposed to be a place where all people can have their history, can be safe, that there is peace. what has happened and what is happening in Gaza, as Rabbi Akselrad said, is heartbreaking because the destruction, I don't think most people want to see what's happening there. I think most people want the end result to be peace, that we can live amongst our brothers and sisters, our cousins, whoever is in the state of Israel and finds that that is their homeland. But that's not what ends up coming across. It's like this Israel monstrous, and attached to Israel is all Jewish people in the world. And it's not the case. It's more of a political situation that's happening within Israel. There's still 55 hostages that they've said, return them, return them, return them. And we sit here and we wait, and we have no resolution to that. And people have said, well, there was 200 and whatever hostages, and look how many people are dying in Gaza. They're not they're not to be equated. This is unfortunately what happens in war, and it's terrible. That's why we don't like war. And there are hostages that are Israeli that need to be returned to their homeland, and there are thousands of people who gather every week to say, bring them home. And it's so complicated, and I wish people would take a step back and say, I'm going to really try to understand this, because it's not as simple as bad guy, good guy.
There are international students whose visas have reportedly been revoked because they participated in pro-Palestinian protests. Where do you stand on that? Is that anti-Semitism?
Where we cross the line is not in protest per se. It's when they say Israel should not exist. That then becomes anti-Semitism. You can say, I hate the government of Israel. Israel is committing, terrible atrocities. But as soon as you say Israel's committed genocide, as soon as you say that Israel should not exist, that the Zionists control the world, whatever these anti-Semitic tropes, now you've crossed the line. And that's what's been going on in college campuses and around the world, and they are spreading these types of lies. But everyone can say, we should get out of Afghanistan, we should get out of Iraq, we should get out of Vietnam. This has been going on as long as America has been. There have been people who are upset about our wars, let alone wars in foreign countries. So people can express their opinion, but they cannot deny Israel's right to exist. That's where they cross the line.
What anti-Semitism have you experienced personally?
We had threats come in. We had a written, mailed threat about that we should not exist, basically, that came in through the mail with someone's return address on it. So they wanted us to know who they were. That was like a week and a half ago. Things like that people are outwardly, we'll get on our live stream, we live stream our services, and once in a while I have to go in and delete comments on the YouTube or Facebook because there'll be bots or trolls that come in and say things about how they feel about the Jewish people. And I want to keep it a peaceful space for our people to have communal prayer. And so, yeah, I mean, these are things I never saw before, not in Las Vegas, not in Los Angeles, they happen, of course, but at this level where it's like, okay, what are we waking up to today? Never before.
We'll hear more from Rabbi-Cantor Hutchings and Rabbi Akselrad about Congregation Ner Tamid's impact on the community next week. We move now to Las Vegas's historic Westside. That's where African Americans lived during segregation, and it's where visitors to the Pearson Community Center can now see an awe-inspiring interpretation of the neighborhood's legacy. The Clark County Public Arts Office collaborated with muralist Mike Norris on the Pearson Pillar Mural project. Instead of a wall, the South Los Angeles-based artists painted pillars, but only after extensive research and invaluable input from local historian Clay T. White. In a period of about 9 months, Mike Norris transformed the pillars inside the Pearson Community Center into a visual timeline spanning more than a century. Las Vegas's historic Westside, the once racially segregated area of the city, is the subject of the Pearson Pillar Mural project, which Norris considers the biggest of his career.
The size, obviously, but the meaning of it, it meant so much to the community. When I was painting throughout the last 4 or 5 months, so many people came up to me and said, "Oh, who are you painting?" And I was like, "Oh, this is Serenite Pretty, or this is, Ruby Duncan. Oh, who is that? Oh, well, here, have a seat. Let me tell you, this person. And these are people that are older than me.
The education Norris shared, he first learned from Clay T. White, inaugural director of UNLV's Oral History Research Center.
And he said, I'm from Los Angeles. And I said, so how much of the history do you know? He said, I don't know any. And I said, well, how did you get the job? He said, I'm good. I said, okay. What can I do to help?
It was like talking to my grandmother all again.
Based in South Los Angeles, Norris founded Artfully United.
I have a mural tour throughout Los Angeles where I work a lot with the communities in the inner city.
Its mission is to uplift those communities through murals with positive messages. And in order to achieve that in Las Vegas, Norris not only worked with White, but held a workshop to engage the community.
The challenge was, are we going to have enough pillars for all of this history?
In total, there are 21 pillars. Each is 10 feet tall, and together they portray the rich history of Las Vegas's West Side, starting in the 1800s. In 1870 is when John Howell became the first African-American landowner in Clark County.
The first pillar and the last one. Those are probably my favorites, because the first one is about John Howell. Starting in North Carolina, he probably walked across the country to get here by 1870. Slavery doesn't end until 1865. So to get here, he probably came with wagon trains, certain distances, but he probably walked across the country.
Fast forward to 1949, and that's where you'll find one of Norris's favorite pillars. Titled The Black Architect, it honors Paul R. Williams, who designed Berkeley Square, the first black housing development in Las Vegas.
He was very, very influential to me because he was also an artist, and I'm always drawn to other artists. And he designed the first middle-class community for black people. And he endured so much racism, but accomplished so much.
So Paul R. Williams is the home designer for some of the elite in Southern California. And in order to have those clients, he's an African American. He can't sit beside them like he would a black client. So he has to learn to sit across their desk from them and to draw a house, draft that house quickly, upside down. So that was the world that African Americans live in, and we still do today. Systemic racism today is as horrible as it has ever been. Now, I'm not talking about hanging people in Mississippi and Alabama. I'm not talking about that part of it. I'm talking about the everyday microaggressions that African Americans experience. That our lifespan is shorter than your lifespan because of it, that our medical care is not the same, that I don't get the same rate when I get a loan as you do.
I grew up impoverished. We were homeless when I was 6, and I always turned to my art, and I always knew that I would do some type of career in art. Growing up, me personally, I did not see many black men that were artists, that were really accomplished artists, I should say. But it's not by coincidence that you see a lot of younger black kids that want to be rappers or want to play basketball or play football, because that's what is highlighted and what is promoted in the media, that this is success. It's just due to systemic racism. They do not want to highlight the different career paths that we have taken. We're astronauts, we're doctors, we are lawyers, we are dentists, we are architects. That's the reason why I put them right here and made sure when kids come straight in, they see him.
Norris hopes all the heroes he painted will inspire visitors here, while White has another priority.
I hope that this spurs us to understand how important it is to learn our history. Right now, African American history is being destroyed in this country. We're erasing it from history books, we're erasing it from museums. That should not happen.
And had White had her way initially, the very last pillar in this mural, now one of her favorites, would not have happened.
I I have no idea how the last pillar became what it is. The last pillar really points to the future. I wanted to talk more about Jackson Street and use that to point toward the future, because you know that Jackson Street is being revitalized. And some of that West Side area is really being revitalized in such a wonderful way.
But Norris depicted a different future.
I made sure that the last pillar is kind of giving an estimate of what the future will look like and showing Black and brown unity. In the next 20 or 30 years, it may be a majority Latino community, which is fine. But I wanted to pay homage to their heritage and their culture to show like, hey, even though it's not dominant today, I do see where it's going, and I want to just give you this respect on the last pillar.
It's an artistic decision that White says she respects.
He was astute enough, after learning all of this history, falling in love with people here in the center, he was astute enough to know that we need to look toward the future.
Did he run it by you?
No, and it was okay, because I would not have agreed. I did not have the foresight that he had. Yes, I agreed completely, yes.
A short documentary about the process of painting the pillars is in the works. For that, the Clark County Public Arts Office is working with Las Vegas-based Arecibo Films, led by Zachary Freed. For more information on the Pearson Pillar Mural project, go to vegaspbs.org/Nevada Week, and I'll see you next week on Nevada Week.